Hello and welcome to Technocare Industries SAP Geek. This is Anurag and today we are going to continue on our course of Employee Central Payroll. In our previous video, we have seen what are the different steps that are used for configuring process in a payroll control center. Today we are going to see manager and administrator role which are present in PCC. So these are the only two roles which are present as an end user for payroll control center. Now we will see what are the responsibilities that each manager and administrator has to perform using PCC in Employee Central Payroll. So here you can see a manager role. So what a manager does is he will just create and run validations as per payroll manager. Okay, so what are the responsibilities of payroll manager? He is responsible for overall process. He has to ensure the correctness and the timeliness of payroll. He will trigger different issues to administrators, right, and ask them to resolve, and he will sign off on all the steps that are executed correctly. So here that you see, these are all the responsibilities of a manager in PCC or in general also. Otherwise also, if you are not using PCC, these are normally considered as responsibilities of a payroll manager. Okay, later on when we'll be seeing towards administrator roles, we'll be focusing on these uh, roles over here. Currently we are only bothered about payroll process manager, that is what are the different responsibilities, what is the screen on which payroll manager will be working. Okay, so payroll manager in payroll control center will have a screen called as process management. Okay, in this process management, all the processes will come which are configured using previous uh, configuration steps mentioned in our previous videos. Okay, so these once the recurrencies of the processes are defined in system by a front end, so during once that is done, it all those processes will be coming under upcoming processes tab. So there are three tabs in the process management screen. One is active processes, another one is upcoming processes, and there is one completed processes. So whenever the recurrencies of the process instance are created via front end, okay, at that time all the different processes will be present in the queue in this section. So in this tab you'll see processes like pre-payroll monitoring, production payroll, posting to financial accounting. Okay, so these are for January. So based on whatever the recurrencies are defined, you will also have February, March, April, May, and so on, whatever are the upcoming processes. So typically at the time of payroll processing, right, so whenever employee or whenever manager wants to initiate any of this process, he can do it. So for example, now I want to do a pre-payroll monitoring. Okay, right now let's say we are on start of the month, let's say 10th or 15th of the month, and payroll manager wants to do a pre-payroll monitoring activity just to check if there are any master data related errors that can be resolved by their administrator. For now, just understand that there are two people in system. One is payroll manager, who will identify the issues, assign the issues, uh, and get them resolved from the other person. And the second is payroll administrators, who will only work on the resolution of issues that are assigned to him. Okay, so this is how you'll get some clarity. So yes, now we have seen upcoming processes. So what happens, what is the next step? What the manager does is manager just have to click on, let's say, pre-payroll. He wants to start this process, pre-payroll monitoring. he will go ahead and click on start processes button, and the process will be moved to active processes. Okay, and then once it is active, there may be different steps. Like for example, for pre-payroll monitoring, this is a 3-step process. Production payroll is a 6-step process. Posting to financial accounting is again a 3-step process. So depending on different number of steps which are present under a particular process, the active process will have that many tabs, and then corresponding actions will be taken. So basically, what is the role of a manager at the start of the beginning of the payroll month? If he wants to start with pre-payroll monitoring phase process, then he can come here and just click on start process. Complete it, this process will move into active processes, complete the entire process. Once the active process is completed, after that he can again come to this page and start the production payroll. Once it's time to run production payroll, then again he will start the process over here, and this process will go into active processes tab. Again the corresponding 6 steps are there that he will confirm and start from here, and then once that is completed, he will move on to the another process. So this is the cycle in which payroll manager will be working. Okay, so this is the manager role. Let us move on to a little bit detail. Like for example, in our last slide here, I've told you that pre-payroll monitoring is a 3-step process. So there are 3 sub-steps of a particular process for pre-payroll monitoring. So let us see one example of that. In pre-payroll monitoring, as you can see, there will be 3 steps. One is create payroll data, initiate policies, and monitoring. Okay, so it is a 3-step process. So I am just giving you a general idea. This number of steps can increase, decrease in standard. So SAP has delivered 3-step process for pre-payroll monitoring, 6-step process for production payroll, and 3-step process for post payroll financials. Okay, so if create test data, so I did not include a screen of create test payroll data here. So it does not have much details. Payroll manager will go to this tab, and he will just click on a start button. Okay, once he clicks on start button, the test data will be created, test payroll data, and then that step is completed, and when we move on to initiate policies. Okay, now this is the screen of initiate policies. When payroll manager will start this process of initiate policies, so 2 things will happen. So system in background, they will start the background jobs will run, and they will calculate all the alerts and the KPIs based on the policies which are assigned to this particular process. Okay, and you can see these are all the alerts, like for example, employee logged in payroll, employee missing main address, missing main bank, missing cost center, employee with claim, right? All these are the alerts, right? So these programs will run in background. They will calculate all the alert validations and KPIs based on the test payroll data which is just created in the previous step. Okay, and they'll give you a summary. This is nothing but this is a if you go to Employee Central Payroll system and go to SM37 transaction, you will also see a job with this description, and under this job you'll see all the data. So basically the same screen of SM37 display is pulled out on this initiate policy summary. Once this operation is executed and step is completed, you'll be able to see the summary directly from payroll control system. You don't have to log into ECP for this. Okay, so this is the second step, initiate policies. The major work that is done for any pre-payroll process, or in this case we are calling it monitoring process, right, which is nothing but payroll data validation before actual live payroll runs. So that happens in the monitoring step. So let us move on to the next step. So if you see, this is the 3rd step, right? This is the 3rd step of the monitoring process. So first we created test payroll data. Then we initiated policies. So initiated policies is nothing but creating all the alerts and KPIs which are assigned to that particular process. Okay, and then we come to monitoring phase. So once we come to monitoring stage, all the alerts and KPIs which are there, which were generated, will be displayed on screen. Okay, here we can see that, let's say, 5 alerts are generated, and the 5 alerts are being assigned to this administrator. Apart from that, these KPIs are also generated, right? So what we do after these alerts are generated in system, what is the role of payroll manager or uh, manager role in payroll control center after these alerts are generated, right? So it is error assignment. I will come to that in a minute. So before we come to that, let us observe this screen carefully. So here, when system says 5 different alerts are generated, right? There are 2 categories. One is not assigned, another one is assigned to a particular administrator, right? So what is this? If there are any alerts which are unassigned, right, they will come over here, and for which they are already assigned will come over here. Now how this assignment happens, that also we will see shortly. Okay, so from here itself, the manager can go and click on, let's say, this administrator to check what are the different errors which are present in the uh, in the employee's data and which are assigned to this particular administrator. So from here he can basically monitor which administrator is working on which alerts. Okay, and now let us see more about this alert assignment. Okay, as a payroll manager, what I will do is I will click on this alert assignment. So once I click on that alert assignment, he will be, so the system will navigate to this one, this screen. Okay, so here if you see, this is the different screen which is navigating, and here there will be list of all the alerts which are generated, and the processor or the administrator. So here if you see default processor means nothing but administrator, and here let's say for this particular error, administrator is already assigned, but you can see this and this first two, they are not assigned. So if I want to assign them, very simple, is we just click on this not assigned and search for our administrators and assign them. So here let's say I want to assign it to this person only, then I will go ahead and select this, and this error will get assigned to this administrator, or I can search and I can assign it to someone else who should already have the administrator role assigned in payroll control center. Okay, so far it is really straightforward. What is the role of a manager in payroll control center? First is, let us just do a very quick recap. What is the role? He is responsible for the overall process. He has to ensure the correctness and the timeline. He has to trigger all the alerts to administrators so that he can get them resolved from them, and he will sign that all steps are executed correctly. So we have taken example of this one monitoring single click on monitoring phase or monitoring process, where there are 3 steps: to create test data, initiate policies, monitoring, right? Then when we come to monitoring, payroll manager, we can go and check the errors which are not assigned and get them assigned. You can also go to alert assignments to check overall all the list of alerts that were generated, right? And then individually go and assign them to different administrators. Okay, so now okay, one more thing I wanted to show you. So that was an example of 3-step process, right? So as I said, in standard for production payroll, so production payroll is a 6-step process. So you will see a screen something like this: start payroll, run payroll, posting simulation, initiate policies, monitoring, and end payroll, right? So there are 3 things. So earlier there were only 3 steps in monitoring phase, and in production payroll process there are 6 steps, right? So I'm not saying these steps are exactly same, but initiate policies. Okay, so initiate policies will be exactly same as that was in the monitoring phase. Please remember that when I say exactly same, it does not mean that they should have same set of validations. So same set of alerts should be there in monitoring as well as production payroll. It is not necessary. However, it is recommended because it will ensure that no error or validation gets unnoticed or bypassed. But since they have SAP has given the flexibility, we can have different set of KPIs and alerts assigned to a monitoring process as well as the production payroll process. So this initiate policies and monitoring will be same as what was present for your monitoring or one click pre payroll process. Okay, now let us see what is start payroll. When the manager will actually let me come back to the main screen, right, for process management. So here in process management, if when the manager starts the process for any production payroll process, okay, so what will happen, it will go to active processes and it will show you these 6 steps. So that manager will come here and there will be a button start at the bottom. He will click on that start so that this step will finish. So this step, what this step does is this will just release the control record for payroll. Once that is done, this step will be completed. Then next step will be running payroll. So when now the key difference between running payroll, this step, and the step which was there in uh, monitoring process, which is create test payroll data, is in create test payroll data only simulation payroll results are created, but whereas in the run payroll the actual live payroll results will be created. Okay, and um, similarly when initiate policies will run, now these initiate policies will run on the live payroll results, and earlier the initiate policies was running on the test payroll results or the simulation payroll results. Okay, so this is the main difference that you need to understand. And the second step will be running payroll. Okay, then third step will be posting simulation. So posting simulation, it is a best practice to check whether all the documents are, I mean simulation documents are created properly in PCP0, just to ensure that we don't go ahead with payroll processing and then we at the end we find out that there were some errors in posting, right? So this posting simulation is a must. uh, and then initiate policies will again trigger all the validations programs in background and KPIs programs in background. Then monitoring phase, again this activity will come repeat, like payroll manager will go and assign any unassigned errors to the corresponding administrators and get them resolved from them. And finally end payroll will actually change the control record status to exit in Employee Central Payroll backend system. Okay, so what will happen is in run payroll, in the second step when we check for the same production payroll process, uh, once this is completed, once this run payroll process, once in background all the process live payroll results are created, you'll be able to see this see details button over here. If you go here, you will be able to see this productive payroll run, and this number, this is nothing but the job in SM37 again. So if you click on here, you will be able to check actual payroll log of all the employees for which payroll was processed, right? The same thing can be checked in SM37 from a backend employee ECP system, but the same log will be called over here. Okay, so this is the second step. So I'm just showing some steps in the process which are different. Okay, so we have already seen initiate policies, monitoring, so I will not show. And start payroll and end payroll is something very very straightforward. There is not much to discuss or explain here. Start payroll is just releasing control record to release for payroll status, and end payroll is just changing control record to exit mode. So I'm just trying to show you the different screens which are present. The repetitive screens are, I mean, almost similar for initiate policies and monitoring phase, right? So this was run payroll for you. Now what we will do is we will also see the example of the third process. What is the third process? We saw third process is financial accounting. So posting to financial accounting. So for those of you who are feeling a little confused, let me come back to this slide. Excuse me. Yeah. So the very first screen that we saw for manager was process management. In that there were upcoming processes. There were three kind of processes. One was pre-payroll, production, and posting to financial accounting. So we have seen pre-payroll monitoring and we have seen production payroll. Now we are seeing example of a posting to financial accounting. So what kind of screen will be present for payroll manager once he click on the start process button for posting to financial accounting, right? Okay. So there are again this posting to financial accounting is a three-step process: create posting documents, release posting documents, and transfer posting documents, right? So this step is similar to running your CIPE program in Employee Central Payroll system in the backend. Okay, the one thing that you need to understand is when you complete this process, the payroll manager, when it completes this process, the FI posting of the documents will be completed in ECP system. Okay, now this your SAP financials may be on another system, another SAP system, or another third party system. So these financial documents which are posted in ECP system, they need to be transferred from ECP to the SAP financial system. So this is a key thing that you need to keep in mind. This thing I have been repeatedly telling you in many videos so that it does not get missed, okay, from your mind. So create posting documents, then release posting documents, and transfer posting documents. In each of the steps, basically, when you there will be once this is complete, each of the steps you'll be able to see the see details page similar to this one, and you'll actually be able to see the entire log, which is typically available in PCP0 transaction, right, on this PCC front end screen. Okay, now let us move on to the other hat. Let us wear administrator roles hat and let us understand responsibilities from a administrator perspective. So far we have discussed the payroll process manager role, right? And now let us focus on the payroll administrator part. So first of all, there can be different kind of administrators for different categories of alerts that are generated. Okay, there can be a payroll admin for gross, who is responsible for gross payroll calculation. There can be a payroll admin for benefits, who is responsible for benefit calculations. There can be a payroll admin for garnishments, which is only responsible for garnishment area. And then there can be payroll administrator for tax, so who will ensure that taxes and the net payroll calculations are accurate. Okay, so this is just an example. You can have n number of different administrators. You can also have only one payroll administrator and one payroll manager. So it is up to us. So now we need to understand, now we need to see the same thing from an administrator's perspective. So what different screens will an administrator have in order to resolve the errors which are generated in the monitoring phase? Okay, so for administrator it is all about monitoring phase. Administrator does not have a view for the process management which a manager is having. He will not be able to start the process, initiate the process, confirm the process. All these things are beyond the purview of payroll administrators. That is sole responsibility of a payroll manager. Now what we will see, the all we have to think or focus on from an administrative role perspective is a screen which is alert management. Okay, so basically administrators will just update the data using the administrator roles and verify whether the errors are resolved or not. Okay, so As I told you, let us see this alert management. So in alert management, so any administrators, any administrator, if I am logged in as the administrator in payroll control center, I'll be able to see my work list with alerts, my work list without alerts. So in my work list with alerts, I'll be getting a seal. For example, 5 alerts are assigned to me. 2 are related to gross pay variance difference of percentage, 2 are for retro payment greater than some amount, and 1 is for master time employee missing main bank detail. Okay, so I need to resolve them. So what I do is I'll just click on this any error message alert that is generated, and I'll get the details, right? So in details page, what I will see is the system will show me the employee, right? It will show me the reason that is configured. Okay, why the reason means why this alert is generated. So waste time difference to previous pay is more than some percentage. Okay, and then what is the solution? Probable solution: update EC employment information. Maybe if something is missing, he can go and update. Okay, or else he can so multiple options are there for any alert. Administrator can validate, he can forward, he can mark as solution applied, and he can mark as set to resolve. So when you say validate typically administrator will done after doing some changes. For example, this alert is generated. I as a payroll administrator, I will go and do some changes in the ECP system, right? And then I will click on validate button. So what system will do is system will again reevaluate only for this particular employee whether this this alert is resolved or not. And then if it is resolved, this alert will go away. Okay, so that is how the functionality works. Then we have something called a solution applied. We mark it as solution applied so that this is this is reduced to this error is reduced, so it is set to resolve. Another one is set to resolve. So set to resolve as a special category SAP is given. Like for example, any alert which is generated, which might be an exception, right? But it is a legitimate amount. Like for example, employee receives some bonus pay. Because of that bonus pay, his variance is crossing, let's say 10%, which is normally the criteria for generating alerts. But it is a legitimate bonus, and the bonus amount has to be paid, which is correct and verified by administrator. So that administrator will go and set the alert as set to resolve, so that next time whenever if we are repeating the process, it will not generate the same alert again. Okay, so this was alert management screen. There is one more detail screen. If you go to the detail screen, alert details, you will be able to get some details like what is the payroll area of employee, what is the payroll period, what is the payroll begin date and date, what are the probable solutions, right? These probable solutions, these are also configurable. So like for example, if you're not getting any cost center assignment, you can give probable solutions like check position data in info type 1, check cost center assignment in info type 1, something like that. Some steps we can give them at the time of alert configuration. Now very important thing is how to identify the list of administrators for a particular process, right? There are two parts in how the system identifies list of administrators for any process. Okay, one is in non-simplified solution and another is in simplified solution. So if you are using non-simplified, so new solution is simplified solution, right, where the assignment of administrators happen on a front end screen. So if we are not talking about that, we are talking about customers who are using non-simplified solution for error management. Okay, so what we do not typically is, so this is the configuration, right? For example, monitoring process. Under monitoring, if you go, there is a parameter called as SBMOD. Okay, SBMOD. So this SBMOD, we will give the input parameter value as, let's say for example, PC20, and under PC20 they will give the name of the administrator or assign this administrator who will be taking care of the errors or validations generated in this particular process. Okay, so this is how system will identify list of administrators to whom errors or alerts has to be triggered, okay, based on which process is being executed. So this table, which is this table, so default implementation, so this is the T526 is the table where you will see the group of administrators and the name, the listed actual list of administrators which will be used for generating and assigning alerts on PCC. So we have to understand that this is only in case of non-simplified configuration, which is the older version of PCC. It is still being used by many customers, but so you need to absolutely understand that there are two configuration set of configuration types available. One is non-simplified and another one is simplified. So this is non-simplified. Any changes in the list of administrators that you need to send, it will definitely need a transport request. So in simplified, it is a more of a front-end job that can be done at individual client. So this is how a system identifies list of administrators in non-simplified configuration. Okay, now let us let us move on to simplified configuration. So as I told you, simplified configuration, we can assign administrators in front end. There is a transaction BOBF, okay, business object processing framework. In that there are two transportable objects, which are PYC process meant REQ and PYC policy meant REQ. Okay, so here if we go and under this we go and check the table under which we need to maintain the administrator. So basically we do it from a front end screen and it gets saved in this table. So what is the table? So first of all, we go to this transaction, we expand this transportable business objects. Under that we locate the policy maintain REQ and process maintain REQ object. Okay, and then if you double click on that, and we will be able to see the database table name, and something, I'm just giving you a screenshot of how the data will look in this table. It will be something like this. So payroll admin, payroll manager. So these are the user IDs basically, which are assigned, who will be considered as administrators, list of administrators for simplified configuration. So again, there is no direct maintenance for this table because this is not a config. This will be done in via front end, and once it is done in front end, it will come and sit in this table. So this is the place where you can go and verify whether any person is set up as a list of administrators for any particular process. Okay, now again repeating, this is only for simplified configuration. Now this is the front end screen. So if you see here, if you go to team, here we will be able to check all the members which are present for that particular process. Here you can add, remove, so basically modify the list of administrators, okay, which will be working on this particular process. One more UI is there for payroll administrators. It is called as team alerts. So let's say any alert is not assigned to anyone, right? We have seen payroll manager screen where payroll manager goes and assigns the unassigned alerts to the respective payroll administrators. There is also a UI for team alerts, wherein if the administrator is in a particular team for which a list of alerts are generated for any process, he can assign the alerts to himself. So they can see from this UI. This is a separate link again. So it is called as team alerts. So administrator can go to this team alerts screen and check the list of alerts which are not assigned yet, and they can actually go and assign to themselves and then work on those alerts. So this is another screen which is worth keeping in mind. Now that was it for today. So this was a quick session for roles which are present in payroll control center. In our upcoming videos we will be able to, we'll be discussing the different authorizations which are required for payroll control center.